Hello, Kinsey teachers. This video is a quick demonstration of the workflow and just generally how skills work in Seesaw. And when I say skills, what a word that you can correlate that with would be standards. And so Seesaw has the ability to attach standards to activities so that you can do some filtering and sorting to see work over time in a student's portfolio around a standard. And so it is important to note that we have a decision to make as a staff if we want our skills or standards in Seesaw to be based off of the Iowa core or if they're going to correlate with our power standards. That's something that we're currently deciding. This is just going to show you the general workflow of how you would tag an activity with a skill or with a standard so that later you can see how the student did and you can give the student a rating on that standard and then see their work over time around standards. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go ahead and find an activity that I would like to assign a standard to, and I have one in mind. Here's an activity that's all about reteaching activity about comparing numbers, so less than, greater than, or equal to for second grade. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and edit this activity. And I am going to, let's do this. So we're going to edit the activity and I'm going to scroll down to the bottom and here it says more options. If I click more options here, I can see that there are no skills attached to this activity. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. And now this will all be done for you in the back end. The skills and standards will be put into Seesaw for you. And then it's just a matter of you navigating and choosing the standard that correlates with this activity. So in this case, it's math. So I'm going to search for math. And now this brings up all of our math standards that are in here, these are the standards that I put in the last school year. And so if I want to maybe narrow that search a little bit, I can search. Maybe I'm going to search for comparing. There we go. Now I have comparing numbers. And so perfect. There must also be something about comparing in this standard, but this is the one I want right here, comparing numbers. I can click this arrow to see more about that standards. And yep, it is the one I want, comparing with greater than, equal to, or less than. And so what I'm going to do to tag this activity with this standard, just click the check box. Click the check here. And now this skill is going to be attached to this activity. So if I assign this activity to a student, they can complete the activity, and then when I approve it, I'll be able to give them a rating on that standard. And then I can see that over time. I can see all my students' standards and their work on standards. There's some really powerful features to be able to look at student work in a portfolio around standards. That is the gist of how you would assign a standard to an activity. Now you can also, if I go back here to, let's just say, let's go to the journal, for instance. And here is an example of a student that completed an activity. I didn't assign a standard to this activity. So what I can do is if I want to actually assign a standard to this in the journal, there's a button right here. It's this little hat, like a graduation hat. I don't know the exact name of that hat. But I could click on that and now I can tag this activity with a standard. Not only that, but now I can also give a rating, 1 or 2 or 3 star rating, and then I can hit the check mark. And so now this standard is attached to this activity, and I can go and look at that in different ways, which will be the topic of another video. So a lot of interesting things. If I want to untag it, I just go back in and uncheck it. So a lot of interesting ways to use skills or standards in Seesaw. The important thing to remember is that it's going to be set up for you. There will not be any work for you to do in setting up standards. And we will work with you to get everybody comfortable assigning standards to activities and being able to give ratings around those standards.